Hello and welcome back. I'm Norman Wakefield, and this is part two of how to have strength, how to build strength. The big fight, David and Goliath, will take place shortly. So take your seats and relax and enjoy yourself. David is being prepared for battle by Saul's heroic battlefield commanders and field marshals. They are fitting David into Saul's armor because David has been advised to use the same armor that King Saul used, because King Saul had won many courageous battles and fought many battles, so they would help David. But David said, "Gentlemen, with all due respect, I'm not a soldier, and it's too late in the game now. I have no choice but to use the weapon that I know best." And at that time, David moved on out on the battlefield and began to size up Goliath. He began selecting rocks, casting some rocks back, until finally he made a meticulous selection of a black rock with a smooth surface like the size of an egg. Then David began to size the big giant up. His strategy was to hit Goliath between the eyes, but only one problem. The giant helmet was low on his head, covering that area, David's target area. So David had to strategize to get the giant to moving. The giant was standing still like a statue. David had to get him to move. So David's strategy was to bait Goliath to get him to move. So David shouted out in a loud, thundering voice, "Come on with it! Come on!" This infuriated Goliath. Goliath raised his sword high in the air, and his head went back, and he began to posture a charge to kill David. Just at that moment, the giant's helmet shifted back a little, about a quarter of an inch, and like the speed of sound, David locked and loaded his slingshot. David knew the time was right to rock and roll. He was going to kill Goliath. That's when David started to twirling the slingshot round and round, faster and faster and faster, like a Black Hawk helicopter rising up off the ground. Then David fired. He fired a blow that was so powerful that the rock hit Goliath right between the eyes with such a force that it embedded in Goliath's forehead. Goliath died instantly. He tumbled to the ground like an old oak tree. The Philistine army knew without Goliath, they were nothing. They depended heavily on Goliath. So they decimated. The death of Goliath decimated the Philistine army, and the rest of them ran like scared rats. The Israelis' army began to chat. They began to chant, Saul has killed 1,000, but little David has destroyed an army of 10,000. Let us pause right here for a moment and take an analytical look at what took place here. We all would agree that it was a spectacular force took place that caused David to have superhuman strength. We want to understand how we can achieve superhuman strength, how we can build this kind of strength, how we can build this kind of strength. First, we must accept the fact that there is a mild flow of electricity flowing inside of all of us, entering and exiting every 24 hours. This mild flow of energy can become exponentially spectacular, like in the case of a tornado, a huge 20-wheeler Mack truck being hurled through the air. That same energy. Tall buildings tumbling down. The same energy. That energy comes from the same source. We are grounded. The energy is in us. That same energy comes from the universe. The universe, we call it an intelligence. And when intelligence normally gravitate toward other intelligence, like in our story, the other intelligence was David. Like the tornado, the other intelligence was the wind. In human beings, this intelligence comes in order. It's the nature of this human, it's the nature of intelligence to come in order in human beings. I'm talking about order, order, order. Clean mind, clean spirit, uncluttered confusion, free of junk, and a righteous person living a righteous life. Electricity and clutter don't mix. Am I right about this, Joe Norman? Don't mix clutter, electricity, junk, pray tell, and don't add water. You got an explosion or a spontaneous combustion, destruction. This mild flow of energy is in all of us. For it to be spectacular, it has to be cultivated. It has to be acquired. You have to seek it. So as I leave you this evening, my advice to you to acquire strength like this is to build, and that you have to do. Study words. Build your vocabulary. But words are powerful. And when you connect one word to another word, you get more power. So seek higher education. Study to be acceptable. So my advice, my friend, is building a vocabulary. As I leave you, I want to say thank you so much for joining me. Number 3, it's a part 3. Part 3 is next. It should be ready in a few days to be published. Part 3 is also based on a biblical story of strength and courageousness. Here again, I'm not a preacher, but as you can see, I'm a Christian, and I'm fascinated over biblical stories. So here, my rendition or my spin sometimes can be comical, but motivating. So please tune in next for the next number 3, How to Build Strength. We got a dynamic story of the 3 Hebrew boys, Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego, defying the notorious, ruthless King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon. They refused to do what he had told them to do. The 3 Hebrew boys told the king, said, you can take us from Jerusalem, but you can't take Jerusalem from us. I'm not going to get too deep off into that story yet, but check it out. Subscribe now, the subscribe button, and I'll see you in part 3. In the meantime, you take it easy now.